Donald Trump cannot escape the ongoing Epstein scandal. No matter what distractions he tries to create, the story keeps resurfacing. This isn't something that can be hidden away, not with makeup, not with stage photos. And the reason is simple. People won't stop talking about it. Even inside MAGA world, the topic keeps bubbling up. In fact, Elon Musk just shared a cryptic post right as a new Epstein revelation put Trump back in the spotlight. We're going to break down all of it. The latest developments, Musk's strange post, and Representative Jasmine Crockett's direct call out of Trump. But before we get into it, if you could take a second to like this video and hit that subscribe button, it really helps support the channel.
What do you say to lawmakers who heard their stories and they still refuse to support a full investigation into the Epstein case?
I think they all deserve to lose their seats. I mean, at the end of the day, we swear an oath to the Constitution and we swear to serve and to protect Americans. And right now, as you just had a conversation about this administration that is not attacking enemies, but has decided that it wanted to be an enemy towards its own American people, this is yet another attack on us. And what type of precedent is it setting? And what is it telling those that are suffering right now as victims as it relates to our elected officials? It says that so long as you have enough money and or power, then you will be protected and not the most vulnerable amongst us. We are talking about people that were children. You played a clip of Miss Farmer who talked about her as well as her sister that were abused in the 90s, and they reported this, and unfortunately nothing happened to the extent that we had survivors that were giving us testimony as late as 2008 when he was absolutely supposed to be incarcerated in Florida, yet he was still somehow managing to abuse women. We have to stand up. I don't know who's in these files. I don't know if they're Democrats, Republicans, or independents. I don't know if they're donors to any specific campaigns. I have no idea. And honestly, it just doesn't matter. What matters is about doing better for not only these women, but for future generations. So I really don't have any expectations as it relates to a timeline. I will say anything that can slow this thing down, if it's under Comer's watch, is what we're going to see, is anything that drags it along. And frankly, the person that is directing what happens and what doesn't happen, obviously, is the president of the United States. So this comes down to what it is that he's okay with coming out and when. And frankly, it doesn't seem like he's okay with any of it coming out, which basically furthers suspicion from both sides that he is a lot more involved than anything that he's ever said that he was.
Any Republican that heard the testimony of the Epstein survivors and refuses to acknowledge their pain to fight for justice should lose their seat. It is an abomination, especially when all of these people, not just Donald Trump's campaign, but all of them use the pain of those survivors as a political pawn. That is what happened with Jeffrey Epstein. It was a political pawn for Donald Trump. It was a political pawn for the MAGA conspiracy theorist. And now they're not too happy that they actually have to own up to that fact. They don't like it, especially those with the loudest megaphones in the party. Thomas Massie, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and of course Elon, who posted a very ominous tweet. But right before he did, he started attacking the Trump administration again. I think it's interesting context before we get to that post. Elon Musk steps in to remind Trump Energy Department that batteries exist. Elon Musk stepped in on Sunday to highlight a glaring issue that the Department of Energy's attack on renewable energy by reminding them that the administration of a key innovation, battery storage. The polite clapback came after the Department of Energy amplified Donald Trump's familiar broadside against renewables while sharing Energy Secretary Chris Wright's Washington Examiner interview blaming wind and solar power for rising electricity prices, attempting to score its own cheap points on Friday. The DOE's account declared, wind and solar energy infrastructure is essentially worthless when it is dark outside and the wind is not blowing. Elon then responded with, of course, the knowledge that his company produces large-scale battery storage systems with, hello? He then linked the department to a film about the firm's energy storage work in Australia, where its large-scale energy storage product Megapack services utilities in a rural area with severe grid instability using solar power. That is the first time in a while that we have heard Elon Musk say really anything negative about this administration. He's been trying to lay low. And right after that, as we are about to get new bombshell Epstein news that we're going to get into, Elon posted this tweet. Elon wrote, "You'll thank me later." The top reply to this post said, "If you know, you know," with a picture of a Donald Trump Jr. tweet that wrote, "Show us all the Epstein client list now." Why would anyone protect those scumbags? Ask yourself this question daily. And the answer becomes apparent. So it looks like Elon Musk is returning to throwing a little Epstein shade at the administration, and just in the nick of time, as Robert Garcia and the Oversight Committee have bombshell Epstein news right here.
Committee ranking member Robert Garcia joins us now. So, Congressman, it seems like tomorrow is shaping up to be a big day, and will part of the materials that the Oversight panel receives be the birthday book? Are you going to get this tomorrow?
It's looking highly likely. We've been working, of course, with the Epstein estate. Democrats have been forcing, as you know, Republicans to take votes that they don't want to take. We got the subpoena for the Epstein files and are waiting the DOJ to release all those documents and continue to stonewall. We've pushed to get this birthday book end note, which I should remind everyone, Donald Trump has said does not exist. He says that, no, this birthday note that we know is in the hands of the Epstein estate, that does exist. We should be getting confirmation tomorrow. We should be receiving the book and all the Epstein documents from the estate tomorrow, and our intention is to make it public. Our intention is to ask the question, Mr. President, you said this note does not exist. It'll hopefully be in our possession this week, and we're ensuring that every document necessary to bring justice for these victims that we've, of course, heard this just last week, which has been, I think, very hard for the public to come to terms that the White House is covering these horrific information, these files, these crimes up. And so it's going to be a big week.
This so-called birthday book has the potential to expose not only Donald Trump's falsehoods about his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein, but also the broader efforts by this administration to shield Epstein's network of associates. Recently, reporting revealed that the Department of Justice under Pam Bondi asked a judge to block NBC News from publishing the names of two individuals tied to Epstein who allegedly received wire transfers of $100,000 and $250,000. These weren't victims being protected from scrutiny. These were associates. What makes the birthday book so explosive is the possibility of uncovering just how many more people were connected and how many could potentially provide information that implicates Trump. Unlike Trump, some of these associates could even act as informants. We also saw Speaker Mike Johnson recently make comments about Trump in this context, though he has since walked those remarks back.
What I was referring to in that long conversation was what the victim's attorney said. More than a decade ago, President Trump kicked Epstein out of Mar-a-Lago, and he was one of the only people, one of the only prominent people, as everyone has reported, not President Trump, but everybody about him, that he was willing to help law enforcement go after this guy who was a disgusting child abuser, sex trafficker, all the allegations. That's what they heard. So the president was helpful in that. I don't know if I use the right terminology, but that's common knowledge and everybody knows that. So this is much ado about nothing.
Did the president tell you this specifically about his involvement?
I was recounting what others have said. The president and I have talked about the Epstein evils many times. He's as disgusted by it as everybody else. He has long had a history of acknowledging that, and he has said repeatedly he wants everything to come out, all credible information, everything for the American public to decide.
Was he ever asked to wear a wire or anything like that?
I have no idea. No, I'm not saying that. I have no information about that whatsoever. I was repeating what has been common knowledge for a long time. The president was helpful in trying to get Epstein for the law enforcement to go after Epstein. That's always been my understanding. That's common knowledge. It's the public's understanding. I was not breaking news there. Okay, what I'm trying to emphasize is that the president is as disgusted about this as everyone is. All people of good conscience. We heard from the victims last week. It was gut-wrenching to hear their accounts. Many of them came out here and did it to a broader audience, to the public. But there's as many as 1,000 other victims, hundreds of young women, now some of them middle-aged women, who were subjected to these abuses for a long, long time, and justice is long overdue. So we're not just investigating Epstein and what happened, but why the justice system failed these women for so long. That is why the House Oversight Committee is on this so aggressively, and as you saw the latest developments, I think Chairman Comer and some other members are going down to Florida. They're going down to the Epstein estate to look at visitor laws at the estate. By the way, none of this is encompassed in the discharge petition gambit. This is what the Oversight Committee is tasked to do. That is what they are doing in a bipartisan fashion. You have very progressive members on both sides of the aisle that are on it, and we are greatly comforted by that. So we fully support it.
What an absolutely ridiculous excuse. To even suggest that Donald Trump's friendship with Jeffrey Epstein was just some kind of undercover effort to inform the feds is laughable. Mike Johnson really embarrassed himself with that claim. Let's be clear. There is no universe where that explanation makes sense. It's a desperate lie. And like so many of Trump's defenses, it's backfiring. You can see it in the polls. The more they spin, the worse it looks for him.
Numbers are lagging on jobs, as you might imagine. Then again, they're lagging on a lot and have been for a while. CNN chief data analyst Harry Edwin is here. Sir, you see something of a pattern here.
I do see something of a pattern. Sometimes we lose the forest for the trees, but I want to look at the forest, and it is one ugly duckling forest that we're looking at for Donald Trump. You know, look at this. Negative net approval rating for some. You know, we talk about one poll, the CBS News poll. We talk about another poll, the NBC News poll. Nuh-uh. Look at the aggregate polls, and look how long Donald Trump's net approval rating has been negative. It has been every day since March 12th in the average of polls. We're talking about 181 days in a row in which Donald Trump has been underwater swimming with the fishes. There is no good data for Donald Trump when looking at the aggregate and looking overall. He has been negative for a very long period of time, the vast majority of his second presidency.
What about the issues?
Okay, what about the issues? You see this here, right? Is there any shining light? Is there any light at the end of the tunnel? Well, look at the issues. Look at this. These are all the key issues. Donald Trump is underwater on all of them. Trade, obviously, tariffs have been a big thing at the bottom of your list, minus 17 points. The economy, which was the reason he was elected to a second term to fix the economy, way underwater at minus 14 points. Foreign policy, minus 12. And then I think, Mr. John Berman, the key two issues at the top, because these have been Donald Trump's strongest issues, crime and immigration. But get this. He is now underwater on both of these issues, if barely, but he's underwater on crime at minus 2, immigration at minus 3. On all the key issues, he is again swimming with the fishes. Consistency across the board.
It is interesting, though, because the difference here does explain why even with these jobs numbers, which were historically bad on Friday, this is what he's focused on today. He'd rather be talking about this than this.
Absolutely.
All right, what about with key groups that may have influenced his election victory?
Okay, so, you know, we talked about right at the top that every day since March 12th, what has changed since February in terms of making Donald Trump go from the positive side of the ledger to the negative side of the ledger? And this, of course, I think is so important. Two key groups that were so important to getting Donald Trump a second term. He did so much better than the traditional Republican among those under the age of 30 and Hispanics. Look at this. In February, among those under the age of 30, his net approval rating, according to CBS News, plus 2 points. Look at where we are now. Negative 30 points. That's a 32-point move in the wrong direction. And Hispanics, he was 6 points underwater. Look at this. Minus 34 points. That's a 28-point move since February. No wonder Donald Trump's in trouble. He's steady across the board. And since February, when he was last positive, he's only gotten significantly worse among two very key groups for his election back last year.
If this sticks, it'll be interesting to see how it impacts some of these districts, especially in Texas in the midterms.
I got a feeling we'll be talking more about that down the line, John.
Harriet, and thank you very much.
Donald Trump is underwater on every issue, which means Democrats should lean in and highlight their wins. We'll keep pushing that message right here. If you'd like to support the show, hit subscribe, leave a like, and if you made it to the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. Until next time, I will see you soon.